This Easter weekend, everyone deserves a good piece of lamb. This herb-crusted leg of lamb is slow roasted, carved, and served over creamy and indulgent parsnips. We'll garnish it with a punchy and vibrant garlic and herb condiment known as Gremolata. It's a perfect bite to welcome in the spring season. Alright, we'll begin by making our herb crust for this leg of lamb. And guys, this herb rub or crust would be absolutely amazing on just about any piece of fatty and slow roasted meat that you could put in the oven. So we're going to start off by picking the leaves off of some rosemary stems. Just pull back and against the grain of the stem. Those leaves will pull right off, and then we're just going to finely mince them up. Nobody wants to bite into a big old toothpick of rosemary. So once you've got that finely minced, go ahead and add that to a bowl. We're going to add some dried herbs now in the form of onion powder and garlic powder, some ground oregano, paprika, and of course plenty of salt and pepper. You could also use the fresh version of these herbs, but I do find that fresh garlic and fresh herbs tend to burn and get a little bit acrid in the oven. The rosemary is pretty woody, it can hold up, but I like using dried versions of everything else. I've got about a 5-pound leg of lamb here with the bone in. It's got a little bit of fat cap on it, so I'm just going to score that to allow our herb crust to penetrate down into the meat and to encourage that fat to render out in the oven. You could definitely do this with a boneless leg of lamb as well. Your cooking times just may vary, as it's going to cook more quickly without that bone in there. I'm going to brush about a tablespoon or so of Dijon mustard all over this piece of meat, and then use that as a binder to allow our spice rub to adhere. Just going to sprinkle it over the top and rub that all in. I've got this set up on a wire rack on a sheet tray, but I'm going to go ahead and just pull that wire rack off for a second and make sure I rub this all around in that beautiful herb crust. And once it is perfectly coated on all sides, we're going to tuck this into a 450-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's going to give a nice crust to the outside, at which point we'll drop the temperature down to 325. Just let this go for about another 15 to 20 minutes per pound. So we're looking at about an hour and a half or so of total cook time to get it up to 120 degrees internally, which is what I was shooting for a nice medium rare. We'll want to tint that with some foil and let it rest, which will give us plenty of time to make our parsnip puree and Gremolata. I've got 2 pounds of parsnips here, and I'm just going to go ahead and peel them. Nothing wrong with that peel, but for a beautiful white pristine color, I'm going to get rid of that and go ahead and slice these up and chunk them up into just even sized pieces. We're going to boil them, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but the more even they are, the more evenly they will cook. We'll go ahead and get those 2 pounds of parsnips into a pot of cold salted water and bring that up to a boil. And then we'll treat these just like potatoes, basically going to boil them for about 15 minutes until they are fork tender. We'll save some of that cooking water and place the drained parsnips into a food processor along with some unsalted butter that's at room temperature, some heavy cream, season it with salt and pepper, and we'll give this a blend. Guys, as always, exact amounts and instructions are down below. No need to take notes here. I'm adding in a little bit of mascarpone cheese for extra tang and creaminess. You can adjust the consistency here with more cream or some of your cooking liquid as well, but I'm going to taste these and season them with a little extra salt and pepper. That consistency was perfect. Those are good to go. Just keep them warm, and we'll make our Gremolata. Got a couple of large garlic cloves here, which I'm just going to put a fine chop on. Same thing with a couple of chives, a nice little handful of parsley, and a handful of mint. Finally, I'm going to take the zest of about half of a lemon here. And guys, you could do this with a food processor or a mortar and pestle. I'm just using a board and sharp knife. And how fine you make this is really up to you. I'm going to take all of these loosely packed herbs and ingredients here and then just go back through and chop them up very nice and finely. A mortar and pestle would be great, would yield kind of more of a paste here, but I love this chunky sort of sprinkleable garnish here. Oh man, so much flavor packed in there. Anyways, our lamb has been resting for about half an hour. I'm going to carve this bad boy up, and of course these pieces around the outside are going to be a little more well done, which is perfect because I know we all have someone in our family or life that wants a little more well done meat. And then as we get deeper, you can see that just juicy, absolutely blushing, beautiful medium to medium rare piece of lamb. I'm I should add, guys, you could absolutely put this rub on and leave this in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours, even 48 hours before you're ready to roast it. But as long as you give it 30 minutes or so, it'll be absolutely flavorful and delightful. This parsnip puree is beautiful and so creamy and smooth. I'm gonna lay down a few pieces of that succulent lamb. I went ahead and let it sit in its resting juices just so it was maximally flavorful and tender and succulent. A couple of beautiful pieces of that blushing meat right over the top. We're going to garnish it with that vibrant, punchy, and aromatic Gremolata. Sprinkle on a little finishing salt and drizzle on a little bit of good extra virgin olive oil, and that is one beautiful plate of food. Elegant enough for company, but easy enough if you've got a little patience for a weeknight dinner. And man, is that lamb succulent and just unctuous and slightly gamey, but in the best possible way. That herb crust just knocks you over with flavor. The parsnips have a slight sweetness, but are super creamy and indulgent thanks to that butter and mascarpone cheese. Guys, this is an absolutely delightful bite of food. I cannot recommend that you give it a try strongly enough. If you're not a fan of lamb, do this with a nice roast beef or eye of round roast. I absolutely think you're going to love it. But whatever you do, I hope that you'll get out of here and at the very least, go make something delicious.